Jakob, it's lovely to have you with us. I'm going to hand you over to Jessica. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, Jakob, I'll let you give some remarks. I gave everybody, I don't know if you can hear me, but I did tell everyone a tour de force of all your previous positions, and so that this is not your first gig in the United States, and then you've been hosting representations, Greenlandic representations,
Good job, everybody.
going back to China and Iceland. So, but why don't we start with you just kind of giving some remarks, and we'll go into questions from there.
Thank you so much, Jessica, and thank you so much for letting me participate in this fireside chat. I very regret that we have to do it virtually. I really wish that I could be in Canada right now. I always enjoy to be in Canada, but thank you so much for convening this setting.
Of course.
As you know, it has been some very busy times here in DC, and we are working very hard on our level to do whatever we can in this very special situation. I will try to keep it quite short, as you said, Jessica, so we hopefully have more time for Q&A. But I'm pretty sure that what you have been talking about during the last few days, that of course Greenland and the Arctic is very central, basically in all discussions at the moment, strategically, economically, geopolitically, and so forth. It has become very clear, and maybe going a little back the last 13 months regarding the U.S. situation. We have been placed in a very unusual, intense international focus, to say it at least. There has been a renewed public debate here in Washington about our strategic importance, which basically have underscored something that we have known for a very long time, that Greenland matters, especially for North American security, for the transatlantic security, and the future of Arctic. But at the same time, it is also very important for us to reiterate some of our fundamental principles, which is that, of course, Greenland is not for sale. We are not just a transaction. We are not just an object. You don't buy and sell human beings in 2026. We don't want to be owned, controlled, or be taken over by any means, because Greenland belongs to the Greenlandic people. And we don't want to be Americans. We just want to be ourselves, which is, by the way, a very natural thing. We have the right to self-determination, and we use the right to self-determination to choose to be a part of the Kingdom of Denmark. And via the Kingdom of Denmark, we are also a member of NATO. We are a Western democracy. We share the exact same values as Denmark, as the European Union, the Nordic countries, as USA and Canada. We are part of the Western Alliance, and our security is your security. So it has been a very strange situation, to say it at least, when we have these things in mind, that our future is decided by the people of Greenland, and our partnerships must be based on mutual respect and equality. And despite of what we have experienced, and I'm sure we will get back to that a bit later, we have continuously have that approach, that of course that we want to have a constructive dialogue with the US. The US presence at Bidufik Space Base in North Greenland remains a cornerstone of the Arctic and transatlantic security, and we want to engage in a respectful dialogue on how we can enhance our defense cooperation and economic engagement. So we are open, we are cooperative, but we are definitely not for sale. So it has been quite remarkable and a very busy time. And then, of course, we are focusing also on our Canadian-Greenlandic relationship as well. And even though the past year maybe has been known for this attention that we have had here with US, it is still very, very important for us to strengthen our Arctic to Arctic partnerships, and especially with Canada. And as you all know, last week we had our naalakkersuisoq for Foreign Affairs, our Minister for Foreign Affairs, had the honor to be a part of the inauguration of the Canadian consulate in Nuuk, together with the Minister Anand and the Governor General Mary Simon, together with the Danish Foreign Minister. And I would say this is absolutely a crucial time and a very important time to do so. It is not just a symbolic diplomacy when we have this period of increased global attention on the Arctic. So we are extremely happy that the Canadians have chosen also in this specific situation to focus on Greenland and to strengthen our relationships. I'm sure I can go on with many, many things, but I also know you, Jessica, and I know you have many things to say and many things to ask for. So I think I will stop here and hand it over to you, and that you guide us through this session.
So I just want to start by saying, just to open, if anyone knows Washington, D.C., on any average day, if you're trying to run around and do your business there, it could swallow you up whole, alive. And in this current context, when you have a United States government behind it looking to take you by force, I can't imagine how difficult it must be, but I just want to say from a Canadian perspective, and I think Northerners, it becomes exponentially more personal. So this is not just we stand by you. Like it's a real personal feeling of, I think, kinship. And I think it kind of speaks for all Canadians. There's something that there's a personal sense of, as I said, just kinship and our close neighbor. And so in that way, I just say we're not there with you in DC, but there's so much support that's personal and not just publicly, like a political statement. And so I hope that matters for something, because I do, just
Absolutely.
because of.
Absolutely, there's absolutely many feelings and emotions attached to this. There's no doubt.
So I'd love to give you a big hug if you were here. So we'll just do it through the screen. Okay, let's just start. I explained to everyone that you did open the representation in China, so it's not like you don't know anything about China. Could we just kind of just put it to rest, maybe get out of the way this narrative about all these Chinese, I don't know, walking around, crawling around, sailing around Greenland? Like, what's the state of Greenland that way?
The idea that we are overrun by Chinese military activity or economic dominance or whatsoever is simply not grounded in reality. And I want to stress there is no Chinese warships in Greenlandic waters, or no Chinese investments for that matter. There's no Chinese footprints in Greenland. Our relationship with China is solidly based on the principles, like the rest of the Kingdom of Denmark, which also comprise of the Faroe Islands and Denmark. We share exactly the same principles on human rights, cautiousness, security, and so on. And our interest is to sell fish and seafood, trade. It is very important for us and to Asia in general, which I think is quite common in the rest of the kingdom and for European Union and US and Canada as well. As I mentioned, we are part of the Kingdom of Denmark. We are very glad to be a part of the Kingdom of Denmark, and thereby we are part of NATO. We are part of the Western Alliance. And I think the fear of should have Chinese investments or investments for other countries who are not part of our alliance is not grounded in reality. So our focus is in our economic development, to work with our closest friends and neighbors, which is also obviously Canada and US. And if we are talking about mining, for instance, or critical minerals, I think at the moment, I don't have the correct numbers, but I think We, at least last year, had 78 licenses given from the government of Greenland, mainly to exploration, but also for a few exploitation. And I think out of these 78 licenses, 23 is awarded to Canadian companies, 23 to European companies, 10 to UK, 10 to Australia, and so forth. And there's only one from US. So if the interest in critical minerals from the US side is so big, where are the investments? Where are the private investors? I think we have a policy and a sincere objective that if Greenland can be a part with the means that we have, with the population, with the land that we have, can be the first part of the supply chain for critical minerals, which is vital in the future also for both Canada and US for the security. If we can be the first part of the supply chain, if there's willingness to invest in mining in Greenland, we'll be more than happy to do that. On the other hand, I think we should also not forget that processing and the facilitation plans and so on is another issue that US probably need to invest in US because at the moment it's basically only China who can process the critical rare earth elements. So there's no quick fix when we are talking about mining in the Arctic or in Greenland, and especially. Yes, we are the world's largest island. We have a very small population, but we have some challenges, some natural challenges in that sense. Like the screen behind you, I can see it is very white. It could be Greenland, but just to say that we have no roads, we have no trains, we have no infrastructure combining our cities, our settlements whatsoever. So if you want to start a mine in Greenland, you have to basically do everything from scratch, establish your campsite, your own power plant, maybe an airstrip, a port. Then we have all the Arctic elements or the nature, so to speak, as you know very well. On top of that, maybe there will be darkness for half of the year. You have all the icebergs and the ocean that freezes to ice. So if you want to have a quick realization of your investments, maybe you will invest in mines in Asia or in Africa or other places, or maybe in Canada or US where you already have some infrastructure in place. So that is also a part of what we are trying to explain from our side here in Washington, that of course we are open to investments in mining. And of course, we favor our closest friends and allies and our partners and who share the same values and our take on democracy. So let's hope there will be some more investments in the future. But it's not easy. It takes time.
Absolutely. And then, so speaking of investments, maybe we can move on a bit from China and thinking about actually the future. Okay, I have to say though, you said there's no ports, infrastructure. Last time I flew into Nuuk, I felt like I was flying into Billy Bishop Airport here. I mean, it was filled with like the cranes and it looked like a very bustling small city, like that was undergoing a lot of development and construction, and it is the case in terms of a lot of kind of the infrastructure advancements that you guys are making. So when you're talking about critical minerals, you're absolutely right. It's about not just only getting things out of the ground, and we do have a lot of collaboration already from mining companies that are Canadian and investing in Greenland. But you're absolutely right that there's a whole supply chain. And so this has to do with building out infrastructure, building out processing, and this is something that's, I think, not just particular to Greenland, and it's not even just particular to Canada, but I think kind of, I would say Europe, the whole gamut, we're all trying to figure out how to build those supply chains and what they look like. And so maybe where do you see, and as you mentioned, the consulate's it's not a symbolic piece. I mean, I think for us, it's not symbolic. It's kind of the everyday now way we can build cooperation. And so maybe in your mind, where in a most, optimistic, like if you could do how you, envision it, and thinking forward, how would you like to see what the consulate maybe could represent, ours in Nuuk? And I know you're looking towards having something here as well, which will help also with that engagement. But what are some of like the priority areas that you see where we could really be strengthening our cooperation?
It's very difficult to say because I feel that every single subject or topic or area that we are talking about could be a very, very high and relevant area that we should prioritize. I mean, we have so many things in common between Greenland and Canada. If we're talking about healthcare, wildlife, business, trade, education, culture, young people, climate change, research, mining, basically everything. So I think it's only a matter of our limited resources who sets a limit on what we can start with and how far we can take this. We have the whole Arctic Council, we have the ICC, we have already signed MOUs and agreements on to further strengthen and enhance our cooperation. So I don't think it's a matter of should we try to identify some areas, because basically we can identify everything, which will be important, especially in the North Canada and between Greenland. But one important thing, I think, at least for me, is that now we have a Canadian consulate. As you mentioned, we will have a Greenland representation in Ottawa at a later stage. We actually have the opportunity to have a daily contact, people-to-people contact, which were maybe a barrier beforehand when we had the ocean, the Davis Strait among us. I think our cultural exchange, and from there it can lean on to basically everything, just to be able to meet in person, people to people, even though we are virtually right now. It means so much that it's difficult to explain. And from there on, I think there's only our limited resources, human resources, who will set the limits on how much we can further expand our cooperation between Canada and US. And hopefully it will make it much easier now for traveling with the visas and whatever we have of constraints, that we can easily and faster expedite and assist to each other. But I think there is a cultural desire, especially from Greenland, hopefully also from Canada, to meet more frequently. I mean, I saw some of the pictures. Unfortunately, I was not able to be in Nuuk last week, but I saw some of the pictures just of the plane from Canadian North flying from Canada to participate in the opening of the consulate, and with so many people and with the Greenlandic and Canadian flags. I was extremely happy, and I really felt it when I saw it. Now there's a bigger meaning behind the opening of the consulate. So I think we can talk almost for hours if we are talking about culture, education, research, climate change, transportation, mining, and so on, because there are so many areas. So I think it is very good that we have a very strong Canadian diplomat in Nuuk that I was so fortunate to meet in Nuuk, Julie Couteau, when I was home in Christmas in Nuuk, where she was setting up the office there, that we actually can start to focus and maybe start to prioritize, as you say, and what is upcoming. So that is very positive.
Absolutely. And I'm just to pick up on that, I think because the north to, from the north over to Greenland, those relationships have, pre-existed for centuries. And there's been so much desire and already efforts, even between just the Iqaluit, let's say, and Nuuk. And now this helps provide, I think, a lot of structure to really kind of advance on those. And then from the federal position, I think, you're hard pressed to find now a Canadian who doesn't know much about Greenland, because it's been, topic of news. And I think if, I'm sure people had to get out a map at some point, like in the last month, and figure things out. But for those who it hasn't been something that they've thought about on their everyday, kind of goings arounds. But I think now, as a collective whole, is yes, I think then that relationship is beginning, and I like what you're saying too. It's some of it's going to be organic because I think a lot of what we want to do together, still so many similarities. So some of this will just be built up strategically that way. I'm going to ask one last question. Because there's the whole piece of this around the security and defense part, and I'm just curious if you have any thoughts then on, or where your take is in terms of Greenland, Denmark, on strengthening security cooperation between Canada and Denmark. I don't know if you're doing any talks about Golden Dome stuff. I don't know if you want to go over that direction, but I'll just give you a few last.
Thank you. I think here I would focus a little bit on the Greenlandic people because, yes, security is extremely important. We touched a little upon it in the beginning. I know I have some very skillful colleagues who are working closely together. Right now, there's a lot of things going on, especially bilateral between, you can say, the Kingdom of Denmark, Greenland, Denmark, and the US, also focusing on our talks on the security issue. Then you have the whole NATO stepping up in the Arctic, the track there as well. We just saw, I think, here in the news, the launch of the Arctic Sentry under the Allied Command operations. And of course, between Greenland and Canada, the Kingdom of Denmark, as you know, we don't have a standing army or military in Greenland, so we are highly dependent on intelligence sharings between our friends from Denmark, from US, from Canada. But of course, I know that we have our cooperation in NORAD. We have very significant, important Coast Guard cooperation. We have some oil spill responses, not least maybe also the Arctic training. We can be inspired by the Arctic Rangers and so forth in Canada. So I will actually try not to go too much into this because we are having our separate tracks bilaterally in the talks as a follow-up on the ministerial meeting that we had 3 weeks ago, I think, with Secretary Rubio, J.D. Vance, and Minister Motzfeldt and Rasmussen, where we discussed this. Of course, Golden Dome has been out as well, as you mentioned. But I think for the Greenland side, we are quite used to have big radars in Greenland, and especially in the Bidufik, the former Thule Air Base. So and you know that you have that experience in Canada as well. So I think it will be a big cooperation, however it goes on that track. So besides of all of these things, I think it's important to say, yes, we can definitely enhance our security. I think we are very glad that the Europeans and not least NATO are stepping up in the Arctic, in the high north. As you all know, the Arctic is not just Greenland. We also have in Norway and Sweden, Canada, Alaska, and the whole Russia area as well. It's huge. So there's many different pieces and many different elements, I think, on when you're just talking broadly about Arctic security. But what I would say is very important, and what I'm very glad for, and what also shows the dynamic in the Kingdom of Denmark, is that we have invested much more in our security that we used to do before. In the constitutional framework of the Kingdom of Denmark, its military defense security is something that we constitutionally not will be able to take over as a responsibility to the self-governments of Greenland. But we can do so much more, even though legally we cannot do so. So we have invested into having a Greenlandic colleague in the Danish NATO mission in Brussels to gain experience and come with our priorities and can assist the Danes in that work. I mentioned we are very glad that we have many young people now having the new defense or preparedness education together with the Danish defense in Garnhussuaq, where they learn the basic skills, which is maybe more suitable to our Arctic conditions. But the most important thing is that I think also that the people of Greenland feels included in this, because you cannot talk about taking a responsibility of security and defense if you are not involved in it. And in Greenland, we are 56,000 people on the world's largest island. We are very proud people, but very small in size. We are very vulnerable, but we are definitely very resilient and not naive. We know exactly what great power competition means and what it has been to be as a colony, and how we have developed together with the Danes especially, but also with our American and Canadian friends. So I think to include the Greenlandic people in the decision making, to be at the table, which we are, and our foreign minister is having so many meetings together with the Danish defense minister and also with our colleagues and their colleagues around the Arctic. So I think from a people point of view, it is extremely positive to have a seat at the table, which we also, when we are talking about Greenland and discussing Arctic in general, which we have also seen materialized in that we have our colleague Kenneth Høgh as the Arctic ambassador, and I know in Canada you have also done a similar with having Virginia Mearns as Arctic ambassador. So I think all these different steps, and when we also talk about security, is very vital that we all feel a part, that we have something to say, as we say, nothing about Greenland without Greenland.
Yep. Oh, excellent. Thank you so much. And I think everyone really, it's hard because you can't see everybody. So I just want to say thank you. Everyone was like this and catching every word. And please, let's hope it calms down a little. Come visit, because Canada would love to have you here. So take care.
Thank you so much. And I really look forward to come to Canada soon. And thank you so much for taking the time to have this talk. I really enjoyed it and appreciate it. Thank you so much.
We appreciate it too. Take care. Thanks.